So I'm currently on my way over to the east coast of Florida, at least for a few days. We have a little swell in the water. I want to try to catch the tail end of this summertime swell that we have. And I figured it was a good opportunity to do a little test run and see how the new air conditioning unit will work inside this little urban camper van that I've been working on here. Some of you guys might have seen the most recent video that I did where I installed that air conditioning unit, and I want to see how it performs, particularly at night. I figure right about now is probably the best opportunity to test something like that because this is the hottest time of year in Florida. August, September, this is about as hot as it's going to get down here. So what better opportunity than to test this thing overnight? I want to see if it's going to be able to keep me cool all night long, how much power it's going to use, and then if it's going to work. My goal for the next few days is to be entirely off-grid. I don't even have an ability to hook up to shore power. I didn't even bring an extension cord. So I really am just going to try to see if the power system is going to be able to do what I need it to do, and it's either going to be able to do it or it's not. I'm just going to be parking on the side of the road, doing some stealth camping. I want to park in town so that I can wake up first thing in the morning and get to the beach before sunrise. So it's starting to get pretty late, and it is still 85 degrees Fahrenheit outside with very high humidity. I don't think it's going to get below 80 tonight, maybe 79 or 78 if we get lucky. I am heading straight to my stealth camping spot now. One thing that I've always done is just blast the AC as much as I can for the 5 or 10 minutes or so while I'm driving around looking for a spot. I couldn't really do that with the truck camper setups though because the living space was divided from the cab. But now I've been running the AC for like 3 hours. I've got it on nice and high right now, so it's just gonna be nice and cool in here. Getting a little thunderstorm right now. I'm sure you guys can hear the rain. It helped to drop the temperature a little bit, but throughout the night, as soon as the storm passes, it'll start going back up again. I've got the air conditioner set to 22 degrees Celsius. I think that's about 72 Fahrenheit. I'm at 526 amp hours total capacity to start the night. So we'll see where the battery bank goes down to. I'm curious to see how much it's going to use. Also have my little USB fan set up on top of the fridge blowing on me, so should be able to keep cool. It's very comfortable in here. I'm going to bed. It's after 10 o'clock and I got to get up before sunrise. So last night was definitely a success in here. Stayed very comfortable throughout the night. What I did is I closed this vent for the desk area so that all the cold air was just going out the one vent instead of having to go out both. I didn't want it to have to work to cool the whole space, just wanted to keep the bed area cool. And it was very comfortable. I mean, I was under the covers all night long. And then in terms of power consumption, that's the next big question. How much did this thing use throughout the night? I was pretty shocked by how little it used to keep that space cool. Now, I think that maybe we were helped by that thunderstorm that we got. That definitely helped to drop the temperature a little bit outside into like the upper 70s. But, you know, that all being said, this thing used 108 amp hours from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Yeah, that's like 180 watts per hour. And that's not even just this. That is the air conditioning unit with my fridge and the USB fan running on full force and charging my phone and charging some camera batteries as well. So like this thing maybe only used, I don't know, 150 watts, maybe even less than that. And that is a lot less than I was expecting. I thought it was going to use like 200 or 300 at least. And so it did, like I said, it didn't have to maybe work as hard because of that thunderstorm. We'll have to see tonight. Maybe we won't get one and it'll stay a little bit warmer. Now, switching gears to my power setup and my solar panels and how that's all working out, I have not been able to replenish what I used last night, and it's now about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm probably not going to be replenishing it. The solar is probably not going to be enough to keep this thing topped off, to keep the battery system topped off, especially if I'm in here running this during the daytime. During the day, I run a little bit of a deficit when this thing is on full blast. This is as cold as it goes, 16 degrees Celsius, I think that's like 60, maybe 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's on the 4 of 5 fan speed. So, I mean, it's using like 550 or so watts right now. It's basically on max. And my solar, I have 500 watts up there, but you know, it only really gets like 350. You know, it's not like it's perfectly efficient or anything like that. So I'm running a deficit of like 200, even 250 watts, especially once that fridge kicks on and everything else. I am gonna have to be very mindful of this. I'm gonna have to probably spend some time occasionally at coffee shops, which I do anyways. I like to get out of the van. I don't like to necessarily just sit in here all the time. That way I can have everything off in here, allow the solar panels to do their thing, and then also if I'm driving extensive amounts, like if I'm on an extended road trip or something like that, I'm gonna have no problem keeping things topped off. But, you know, just stuff I'm gonna have to think about. Right now it is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Heat index, I think it's like 103. Actual temperature is like 90 degrees with very high humidity, 75% relative humidity. So it's very warm outside. I just went out to go to the bathroom. I'm just parked at the beach here. And then as I was coming back, when I got back in the camper, it was like, oh my gosh, it's so much more comfortable in here. But even in here, it's still pretty warm, guys. Like, it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit in here. Now, if you're directly in front of this vent, like I mentioned in the last video, it's okay. Like, it's blowing on me. And it kind of works very similar to like when you're driving a car or when you're driving the van. That front unit, it works pretty well to keep my front nice and cool, but then my back will get kind of sweaty while I'm driving. And if you were to go in the back somehow while you're driving, I know that's not physically possible, but I've had the temperature thing back there. It stays hot as heck in the back. That front AC unit, when it's running full blast during the day, when the sun is beating on the van and I'm cruising down the highway, even at 14,000 BTUs, I think that's what the ProMaster AC is rated at, it doesn't cool the whole space. It doesn't even come close to being able to cool the whole space here in this Florida heat. So there's no way that this little 12 volt, 8,000 BTU unit is gonna be able to do that. It's just not gonna happen. But you know, for a few hours working in here with this blowing on me, I think it's gonna be okay. My favorite thing is just how stealthy this unit is. You can barely hear it at all. When you have cars driving by like that, or even just on the road right over here, it's really hard to pick out that fan noise, and it is running at full blast right now. Against my better judgment, I'm using the air fryer for a few minutes to heat up some leftover falafel that I have. Frozen falafels. I'm just gonna eat that with some hummus for dinner. Cheaper than eating out. Hopefully it doesn't make it too warm in here. But I got the air conditioner running, and it's basically gonna be running all night from this point on. a little bit too early for me to head over to the stealth camping spot that I have planned for tonight. Usually like to wait until like after 10 o'clock before I pull into a spot like that. I did spend a couple hours at a Starbucks cooling off and allowing the solar panels to charge the batteries for a little bit. And then I have had the DC to DC charger on as well. So I'm not really super low. I'll keep you guys posted. I'm going to take note of it before I go to bed, and then we'll see how much it uses again tonight. It is a little bit warmer out there tonight. I think it's going to be pretty toasty. There's no thunderstorms coming through, at least not that I can see as of right now. So I will say that this thing does a pretty good job at night, which I think I've kind of already mentioned, but it is extremely comfortable in here. I mean, it's still hot and humid outside, but once that sun is removed from the equation, you don't have that Florida sun just beating on the van, turning it into a greenhouse all day with a 105-degree heat index outside. It definitely does a much better job of keeping the space in here comfortable. So we're now starting tonight at 436.8 amp hours. That's quite a bit less than last night, and that's the difference between what I used throughout the day-to-day and what I was not able to replenish with solar. I didn't really drive around much at all today, just kind of going around town, so the DC to DC charger didn't do much. That is still like 77% of my total battery capacity, so I still have 77% remaining. Could probably go on like that for a couple of days and not really have any issues, but it is something that I'm going to have to be thinking about a lot while I'm, living in this van in Florida in particular during the summertime like this. Getting a little bit of a later start this morning. The surf cams don't look very good. Even yesterday, by the time I got the GoPro in the water, conditions were deteriorating pretty fast, and it was definitely fading as well, so we'll see. There actually is a little wave left out there this morning, so I'm gonna go ahead and get on it for a little bit. Last night, things worked out pretty well in here again. It was definitely warmer outside, so it had to work a little bit harder to cool the space, but even so, it used about 160 amps versus the 108 that it used the night beforehand, and that's like, I don't know, 230, 240 watts over the 9 hours that I had this thing running. So it's really not very much. It's very, very efficient, and it kept the space nice and comfortable, maybe even a little bit cooler because it was working a little bit harder than it was the night before. Alright, so just to recap some of the things that I've learned about the power setup in here, the air conditioner, and just staying cool in this new van. The air conditioner is extremely efficient overnight. It's extremely quiet and works amazingly for stealth camping in particular. That's something that I could not do with my previous setup, the truck camper and the window unit in there. It was just too loud. It would wake you up in the middle of the night. You could hear it from the outside. It also used more power, and then my battery system in that truck camper was, I don't know, much smaller. I mean, the second thing that I've learned here is that this battery bank is incredibly large, over 7,000 watt hours. I could go on like this for days and not really have too many worries. I mean, eventually I would have to make up for that power that I used, whether that would be through getting shore power or going for a long drive or whatever, but just being stationary like this in town for a few days, I won't really have an issue running the air conditioner at night. When you add an appliance that runs at 200 watts all night long, that's not necessarily a ton of power, but it's quite a bit when you don't have solar coming in to offset what you're using throughout the night. Surf ended up being a lot of fun this morning. Definitely smaller than it was yesterday, but it was a little bit more organized. Just really fun. So fun that I'm actually going to stay here another night and try to get out first thing tomorrow morning as well. I think that there will be something very similar tomorrow morning, and I'd like to do that one more time before I head back to the Gulf side. I do have to head back over there though. I got some family in town that I want to spend time with. I also have to work in a couple of days as well in person. But then after that, I'm not going to have to work in person for a little while, and I'm trying to work it out where I can be remote and maybe go on an extended trip with this van. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while. I'd really like to do that and make some videos and share them with you guys from the road. That's my plan, kind of what I'm thinking. Hopefully I can make it happen. Thank you guys so much for watching and for following along on this journey. I'll talk to you all again soon.